Smoking feels amazing. It's relaxing, it's enjoyable, but it's dangerous, and let's be honest about why people smoke in the first place. It provides instant relief from stress and discomfort. It offers focus, mental breaks, social connection, appetite suppression, etc. So if we know that it's bad for us and we know how bad it is for us, why don't we stop? I've made previous videos on this, but this is a simplified, high-level overview of what smoking does to your body. So let's understand what happens when you smoke. A cigarette is 95% gases and 5% harmful particles like tar and nicotine. The tar will paralyze the cilia in your lungs. These are tiny hair-like structures whose job it is to sweep out debris and expel it from the body. By paralyzing these structures, tar allows harmful debris to build up in your lungs. This debris builds up in small air sacs called alveoli, which then causes inflammation and damages them. At this point, your body tries to heal itself by producing more cells to replace the damaged ones. Unfortunately, these new cells aren't as elastic, so the surface tension within the lungs increases. This makes it harder for the lungs to expand during inhalation, making breathing increasingly difficult. The oxygen carrying capacity of the lungs also decreases, so you end up with less oxygen in your blood, causing shortness of breath. Nicotine in cigarettes reaches the brain almost instantly. Here it triggers a cocktail of neurotransmitters, epinephrine and cortisol, which make you alert and awake. It also releases dopamine and endorphins, which create feelings of happiness and pain relief. This is why people describe smoking as an experience that gives you stimulation, but also calm at the same time. But this stimulation and calm come at a cost. Your brain is a complex network of neurons that are finely balanced to keep you stable and alert. When nicotine floods your system, it disrupts this balance. Your brain fights back by slowing down the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine, and eventually it gets used to the nicotine. When the nicotine wears off, your brain has to work overtime to get back to its normal state. This causes unpleasant withdrawal symptoms like anxiety, irritability, cravings, difficulty concentrating, insomnia, etc. Eventually, you need nicotine just to feel normal. This is addiction. Most people think of addiction as a psychological problem, but it's not. It's a physical problem. The chemistry of your brain changes when you're exposed to addictive substances. Your brain adjusts to the presence of the substance and becomes dependent on it. That's why quitting smoking is so hard. Withdrawal symptoms usually last 2 to 3 days, but the intense cravings can last much longer. Psychological withdrawal can take weeks or even months. Most people who try to quit end up relapsing, but if most people start smoking because they want relief, why do they continue smoking after they've become addicted? Cigarettes contain various poisonous chemicals such as lead, arsenic, cyanide, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, ammonia, and even butane, which is commonly found in barbecue lighters. These poisons quickly enter your bloodstream through the lungs and are carried throughout the body. Lead and mercury damage your nervous system. Ammonia destroys red blood cells. Formaldehyde and butane affect your immune system. Cyanide prevents cells from using oxygen. Carbon monoxide reduces oxygen carrying capacity in the blood. So basically, you're poisoning your own body from the inside out. One of the primary sites of damage caused by smoking is the lungs. As mentioned earlier, the alveoli are the tiny air sacs responsible for gas exchange in the lungs. When you inhale, oxygen passes through the alveoli into the blood, and when you exhale, carbon dioxide from the blood passes into the alveoli. Over time, smoking damages the walls of the alveoli, causing them to become thin and weak. This results in the formation of air pockets, which further damages the alveoli and causes them to lose their elasticity. This makes breathing increasingly difficult because the lungs cannot expand properly. The damaged alveoli also start to produce more mucus, which can trap bacteria and lead to respiratory infections like pneumonia. In addition, the cilia in the lungs, which normally help clear away debris and protect against infection, become paralyzed and dysfunctional. All of this leads to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. COPD is a group of lung diseases characterized by inflammation and constriction of the airways, which makes breathing very difficult. Emphysema and chronic bronchitis are two of the most common conditions under the COPD umbrella. Emphysema results in the destruction of the alveoli, and chronic bronchitis leads to inflammation and narrowing of the airways. People with COPD often have a chronic cough, wheezing, and shortness of breath. Another significant effect of smoking is on the heart and blood vessels. Nicotine is a potent vasoconstrictor, which means it narrows the blood vessels. This increases blood pressure and makes the heart work harder. In addition, smoking damages the inner lining of blood vessels, making them more prone to plaque buildup, which can lead to heart disease and stroke. People who smoke are also at an increased risk of developing peripheral vascular disease, which affects blood flow to the limbs. This can cause symptoms like claudication, numbness, and twitching in the legs or arms. Smokers are also at an increased risk of developing blood clots, which can travel to the lungs or heart and cause a pulmonary embolism or heart attack. Let's talk about skin. Nicotine and other chemicals in tobacco smoke break down collagen and elastin, which are proteins that provide structure and support to the skin. This breakdown causes wrinkles, sagging skin, and other signs of premature aging. In addition, smoking reduces blood flow to the skin, which can cause it to appear pale and unhealthy. Another effect of smoking is the development of oral lesions, which are sores or ulcers that occur in the mouth. These lesions can be painful and make it difficult to eat or speak. Smokers are also at an increased risk of developing oral cancer, which can be aggressive and difficult to treat. Let's move on to the immune system. Smoking impairs the function of white blood cells, which are crucial for fighting off infections. This means that smokers are more susceptible to getting sick, and their illnesses may be more severe. For example, smoking increases the risk of developing pneumonia, tuberculosis, and influenza. It also weakens the body's response to infections, making illnesses last longer. Finally, let's discuss cancer. Smoking is a leading cause of lung cancer, which is the most common type of cancer in the United States. In fact, 80% of lung cancer cases are caused by smoking. Smoking also increases the risk of developing other types of cancer, including oral, throat, tongue, larynx, esophagus, stomach, pancreas, kidney, bladder, cervical, and colorectal cancer. Cancer cells have the ability to evade the immune system and spread to different parts of the body. Studies show that smoking increases the risk of metastasis, which is the spread of cancer cells to distant organs. This is because nicotine stimulates the production of vascular endothelial growth factor, which promotes the formation of new blood vessels that supply nutrients to tumors, allowing them to grow and spread more aggressively. In conclusion, smoking wreaks havoc on your body and mind. The physical toll it takes is catastrophic, damaging your lungs, heart, vessels, skin, immune system, and increasing your risk of cancer. But despite all the awareness and campaigns to raise awareness, people still smoke. Quitting is hard and often misunderstood. Nicotine is one of the most addictive substances, and kicking the habit can have withdrawal symptoms. People who start smoking when they're young are particularly vulnerable because their brains are still developing. Most smokers start as teenagers. However, it's never too late to quit. If you quit by the age of 35, you can pretty much restore your life expectancy to that of a non-smoker. Even if you don't quit until later in life, smoking is one of the most preventable causes of death. Quitting will add years to your life and improve your overall quality of life. I'd like to close with a call to awareness. Do you, but be aware of the stakes. Smoking solves temporary problems, but causes permanent damage. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.